Go back 1,000 years and visit Central America. You're not gonna find an avocado that looks like this. You're not gonna find an avocado that looks like these. And you're not gonna find one that looks like this. These are all domesticated avocados. If you went back 1,000 years and came upon an avocado tree, you'd find a fruit that looks more like this or this. You see, these are wild avocados. These are avocados that grew from seed. Through generations of selection, cultivation, and cloning, human beings have taken the original avocado fruit that would have looked something like this and turned it into something that looks like that. You would need a whole bag full of these just to make a meal for one person. This, on the other hand, is lunch for the whole family. Heck, with this one, you could feed the whole dang neighborhood. Somewhere along the line, people got smart and they said, I have one tree that gives me avocados that look like this. But just a short little stroll through the forest, I've got another tree that gives me avocados like this. It's fairly obvious that someone would rather eat an avocado that looks like this than looks like that. So this tree was kept and allowed to grow. This guy would have been chopped down and the space used to grow something else. And instead of eating one of these and planting its seed, they'd eat one of these and plant its seed. Eventually, one of the trees grown from one of these seeds produced a fruit like this. So people started chopping down these trees and leaving these and planting their seeds. I know all this because over 100 years ago, a guy named Wilson Popenoe traveled to Central America in search of the wild avocado, but he never found it. He learned that the indigenous people had been using selection to evolve and domesticate the avocado long before he ever got there. A lot of the fruits and vegetables you eat have a similar history. In fact, a lot of the meat we eat has a similar history. People selected the best specimens, allowed them to breed, and got new best specimens and continued to choose the best and the best and the best. But with avocado, there was one problem. Avocados don't grow true to seed, which means that every tree you plant from seed is going to give you a different avocado. It's going to give you an anomaly. So even if you take this seed and plant it, it might regress to this. Or it might do something totally different and give you a purple avocado or a round avocado or an avocado that only produces every 3rd year. For the past year, I have been rehabilitating this neglected avocado growth. And because it's been neglected for maybe 10 or even 20 years, there's a lot of wild avocados in this growth. Like this tree right here. Here's another wild avocado. Or this tree here. Wild avocado. Here's an avocado from a 3rd wild tree. And here is a specimen from a 4th wild avocado tree. These are all wild or non-domesticated avocados. These are all avocados that grew from seed. And this one is going to taste different from this one, which will taste different from this one, which will taste different from this one. They will all have different growing characteristics. They will all have different susceptibilities to disease. And some will be good producers, others will be light producers. Okay, that's cool. Keep the heavy producing, highly nutritional, tasty, disease-resistant strain. Easy, right? There's only one problem. From the time you plant the seed till you get a fruit that looks like this, or a fruit that looks like this, or a fruit that looks like this, you gotta wait on average 10 years. And if you're trying to feed a village, that ain't gonna work. Somewhere along the line, some smart people got together and said to themselves, we plant a seed, we wait 10 years, we might get something that looks like this, or we might get something that looks like this. If only there was a way that every tree I plant would give me fruit like this. Then another smart guy said, what if I take a little branch from the tree that gives me the avocados I like, and I fuse that branch into another already existing tree? Might that branch continue to grow And might that branch continue to grow as the original tree I cut the branch from, and not the tree that I put the branch into. That is a cloning technique we call grafting, and we still use it to this day. If I want to produce a copy of this tree that gives me this variety avocado, I take an avocado seed and plant it, and I let the seedling grow till about 8 or 9 inches like you see here. Then I go to the tree I want to replicate, the tree I want to clone, the tree that's given me these beautiful, delicious avocados, and snip, I take a little cutting, which is what you see here. And then I go to my original seedling and I cut a little slit. You can see here the seedling comes up and then it branches out like a Y. See that? That's a slit that's cut in the seedling. And I take the cutting from the tree that I want to clone and I cut a little wedge and I insert that wedge into the slit and I tape it up nice. See the tape that's holding it closed? And I have planted a tree inside of a tree. Now all I got to do is discourage everything that sprouts from here down from growing, just prune it off, encourage everything from here up to grow, and I'll wind up with a tree that's got about 9 inches of the original seed-grown tree, and the rest of the tree is a clone of the mother. So why do I have a grove full of wild avocados? Well, this is an old grove. This is a mature grove. And when it was originally planted out, it would have been planted with all grafted or clone varieties just like this. And if you look at this tree behind me, you'll see the characteristic evidence that this is a grafted tree. Look at it. It comes up out of the ground and then immediately just starts spreading in different directions. And that's what happens at the graft point. And this happens to be one of these domesticated varieties, and its name is Marcus pumpkin. Somewhere along the line, a Marcus pumpkin avocado, one piece of fruit, fell from a branch and landed right about here. And the seed inside of that fruit took root, and this tree was born. This we call a seedling or a sucker, and these are not desired in our grove. We usually cut these when they're really small. We'll hit them with the mower, we'll chop them with a machete. But because this tree was allowed to grow wild for all these years, it actually established. And this is probably a few years away from maturity. There's no fruit on it yet. It's probably going to just be a little bit bigger because it takes on average about 10 years. But if I don't cut this thing out of here as part of this rehabilitation project I'm doing right now, this will grow up. It will start producing fruit. There's no telling what the fruit will look like, taste like, or behave like. This is a branch of wild avocado, but it's growing out of a domesticated trunk. Let me show you what happened here. I can illustrate what happened to that tree by using this example I showed you earlier of the grafted tree. So when these trees were planted, like I said, they were all grafted. So you're going to have a wild seedling grown to about 9 inches, then you're going to have the variety grafted into it that you want to grow. In this case, it's the Marcus pumpkin. So for decades, this part above the graft junction was encouraged to grow, and anything that would sprout out below the graft was discouraged. You just break it off with your fingers. But a lot of times in these larger groves, when the little what we call suckers start coming out from below the graft line, you either don't notice or you're just not on top of it, and eventually a nice strong branch starts to grow. You don't even notice that it's from below the graft line, and then it takes 10 or 11 or 12 years and it starts producing fruit, and it's only when you see the fruit that you realize that your tree is trying to revert back to rootstock, or that suckers are growing. Here's a good example to look at. This little rogue branch right here. So here's the trunk of the tree, the base of the tree. This little rogue branch came out. It's never been cut, and it's producing a completely different variety of avocado. And these are wild avocados. And in this video, I've picked, what, a dozen different wild avocados so far? Every single one of them will taste different. Now this one will taste like this one because they both came from the same tree. But if I walk 15 feet over there and pick from another tree a wild avocado, they're going to taste totally different. And this is the more common way that we wind up with the seedling fruit or the wild fruit. The other example where the fruit falls to the ground and grows to a whole new tree, that tree's got to grow for 10 or 11 years. It's got to fall in a place that we're not going to run over it with a mower or with a tractor, or just when we see it, cut it down. So you don't see the rogue trees as much, but you do see a lot of these rogue branches or these rootstock branches come out. So is that it? Have we come to the end of the road of avocado evolution? Are we only going to be left with these preferred domesticated varieties that we now clone using the grafting technique? Fortunately, the answer is no. We still discover and create new varieties of avocado all the time. There are people called seedling hunters who will plant hundreds of seeds and wait the 10 years for the tree to develop fruit and see if they find a winner. There's guys like me who go into these old groves, and as I'm walking around, if I come upon a seedling tree, I'll pick the fruit, take it home, and eat it. Now, most of the time you bite into one of these things and you would swear a dog would lick his own asshole just to get the taste off his tongue. But every now and then we come up with a winner. And I'm holding in my hand right here an example of a very recent, newly discovered variety. This has been called the bumpycado. Look how bumpy that skin is. The bumpycado was picked at a residence here in Miami. Someone somewhere along the line planted an avocado from seed. They went to the store, they ate an avocado, they planted the seed, they planted the tree in the yard. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years later, it started producing fruit, and it produced this really weird looking, bumpy, thick-skinned avocado. The person cut it open, he bit into it, he liked it, so he went to see my friend Julian Lara at Lara Farms, which is a nursery. He said, Julian, what kind of avocado is this? Julian said, I've never seen anything like it. It's a new variety. Did you grow the tree from seed? I'm not sure if the guy knew even where the tree came from. Julian tasted the fruit. He said, this is a viable new variety. And he went to the guy's house and he actually took cuttings, like I showed you earlier, where we take cuttings from trees and graft them. And he took cuttings, he went to the guy's house and took cuttings, grafted them into a tree, and created his own bumpycado. He went back to the house where he got the cuttings only to find the tree had been cut down. So right now there is only one tree in the world producing the bumpycado, and Julian is in the process of grafting or cloning more trees to produce the bumpycado. He takes cuttings from his one tree, fuses them into a seedling, and he's in the process of growing more. So in about 4 or 5 years, there will be hundreds of trees producing the bumpycado, and a new avocado variety will be introduced to the market. In summary, avocados, like most of the food we eat, have been domesticated. Thousands of years ago, in their wild form, they would have looked like this. Today, they look like this. The first phase of domestication was selection. This avocado was better than this avocado, so we cut this tree down and we let this tree live. Then this one was better than 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 this one, and eventually someone said, this has to stop. I have one, I love it, it's delicious, but if I plant the seed, it's random. I don't know if I'm gonna get another one that's like this or if I'm gonna get another little runt. Some smart person came along and said, why don't we plant a tree inside of a tree? Why don't we clone the tree that's already giving us this avocado we love so much and see if it continues to give us avocados? And we stopped using selection and we started using cloning. And then right through to today, where just a few seasons ago, the bumpycado was discovered. It often comes as a surprise to a lot of people that there are so many different varieties of avocado and how different each one looks from the other. And this is just a small sampling. There's over 100 different varieties. If you think you'd like to try some of these other varieties, or even roll the dice and try some seedlings, you can get yourself a box from us at guacfarm.com. GUACFARM.com. Now, you can't see it, but I can. There is a huge thunderstorm coming from the west. So I gotta pack all this stuff up and get home. While I do that, you go to guacfarm.com and I will see you on the next video.